On a chilly winter morning in the quiet suburbs of Atlanta, Mia Brooks stood at the grand entrance of a sprawling estate, her heart thudding beneath her worn wool coat. Frost dusted the hedges lining the path, and her breath clouded the air as she nervously tucked a coil of jet-black hair behind her ear. She had never stepped foot in this part of town, much less in front of a mansion like this. Her sister had called just hours ago, voice weak from fever, no backup in sight, and despite still reeling from the loss of their mother just 2 months ago, Mia had said yes without hesitation. The tall mahogany door opened with a smooth creak. A man stood before her, broad shoulders filling the doorway, dressed in a tailored charcoal sweater over a crisp white shirt. His face was striking and unreadable, his eyes a steely shade of gray-brown, locked onto her with quiet intensity. Before Mia could find her words, a little girl peeked out from behind his leg, her cocoa-colored cheeks dimpled as she grinned. "You look like Miss Sunshine," the girl said with wonder. Mia blinked, startled. I'm sorry." The man's brows drew together slightly, but the girl lit up with excitement. "I remember you. You're Miss Sunshine. You sang the brave song." Mia crouched, still confused, and offered a warm smile. "Hey there, sweetie. I'm Mia. I'm just here for today. Your regular nanny isn't feeling well." The girl clapped her hands. "But you came anyway. Daddy, can she stay?" Mia looked up again as the man finally spoke. "Zuri, inside." His deep voice was low and composed. Mia stood as the man stepped aside. He said nothing else, just gave a subtle nod as she stepped into the quiet, expansive home. "Thank you," Mia said politely. The entryway was a world apart from hers. Vaulted ceilings, dark polished wood floors, and an air of quiet so still it felt like sound itself was out of place. Zuri skipped ahead down the hallway, humming. Mia turned slightly toward the man. "You must be Mr. Coleman." He gave a slower nod this time. Malik Coleman. He didn't extend a handshake. Still, Mia tried a gentle smile. "Nice to meet you. I promise to keep things simple. Just play with Zuri, make some lunch, and be gone before dinner." But Malik's gaze didn't leave her face. He wasn't staring in a rude way. It was more like he was trying to match her to a memory that wouldn't quite surface. His eyes briefly scanned her smooth cheekbones, the soft curve of her lips, the calm but cautious way she stood there. He had seen her before. Not here, not like this, but in a different time, in a different light. "Miss Sunshine," Zuri whispered again as her voice floated down the hall like a soft wind. Malik stood frozen. His pulse quickened. It couldn't be. Not after all this time. Not the woman he watched on that video, the one who had calmed his daughter's soul. When nothing else could, Mia had no idea. No idea who he was. No idea what she'd done. "I'll be in my office," Malik said, brushing past her. "Zuri knows her routine." Mia nodded, unsure. "Of course. Thank you again." As he climbed the stairs, he glanced back just once. She was hanging up her coat neatly, thoughtful, humming the same quiet tune from that video, the one that had once made his daughter smile through tears. Malik clenched his jaw and turned away, his footsteps echoing down the hall. Mia exhaled, slowly, glancing around the mansion. She was only here for one day, but deep down, something already told her this wasn't going to be ordinary. Inside his study, Malik Coleman sat behind a massive mahogany desk, the morning light glinting off shelves of untouched books. The screen of his sleek laptop glowed in the dim room, but his eyes weren't on the emails or spreadsheets that awaited him. They were locked on a small silver flash drive resting beside the keyboard. His hand moved toward it with a slowness that bordered on reverence. He hadn't touched it in months, not since the last late night when grief had crept in, and silence filled every room of this house. He inserted the drive. A single file appeared on the screen. "Be brave day." He clicked it. The footage flickered to life. The camera, shaky in the hands of some parent, swept across a preschool auditorium covered in construction paper stars and misspelled posters taped to walls. It was 2 years ago. There, in the corner, sat a little girl alone on a bench, tiny, curled into herself. Zura barely 4 years old then, her dark curls pushed back with a headband, her small fingers twisting nervously in her lap. And then she appeared, a young woman with rich brown skin and dark hair pulled back into a soft puff. Her posture was calm, warm. She knelt beside Zuri, whispered something that the camera couldn't catch, and waited. Zuri nodded, and then the woman stood and sang. No background music, no spotlight, just her voice, smooth and steady as she sang a lullaby about being brave, about how love never really leaves. Malik leaned forward. Her voice hadn't changed. That same warmth was now in his house. And then her words. Even when someone we love is gone, they live here, every time. We smile. The screen showed little Zuri leaning into the woman's shoulder. Her eyes closed. Her sobbing had stopped. Malik paused the video. He remembered that day like a cut that never healed right. Zuri had come home different. Not fixed, but softer, lighter. And tucked inside her little backpack had been a folded letter written in playful, child-friendly script. Dear Zuri, I see how strong your heart is. Even when it feels like it's breaking, your mommy loves you from the stars. Every time you're kind or brave, you shine like her dot with hugs. Miss Sunshine, there was no last name, no signature the school could trace. He'd asked. They told him she was a college intern, temporary, gone, no forwarding info dot, and yet he had kept that letter in Zuri's drawer, kept that video on this flash drive, played them when the house grew to quiet. And now she was here, that woman, Mia, pouring juice in his kitchen, laughing softly from the living room. She didn't know. She had no idea who he was, what she'd done, and Maliki wasn't sure what to do with that truth. He leaned back, his hand over his face. The sound of Maya's laughter floated down the hallway again, low, real, and healing. He thought about going to her, about saying, "You changed everything for my daughter." But something made him stop, something deeper, because now he had a question one even he didn't know how to ask. If she could bring Zuri back from the dark, could she do the same for him? The late morning sun poured gently through the tall windows of the Coleman estate, casting golden light across the polished floors. But for all its beauty, the house still felt muted, like it had forgotten how to hold laughter. Until Mia stepped into the playroom, Zuri was already there, cross-legged on a fluffy cream rug shaped like a cloud, her stuffed bunny tucked beneath one elbow. When she looked up, her big brown eyes were curious, but not afraid. Mia crouched down to meet her gaze. "Hey again," she said, voice soft like morning rain. "Want to build something, or maybe we can make up a story together?" Zuri tilted her head, thinking. Then she gave a small, shy nod. Maya's eyes lit up. She glanced around and noticed a basket full of children's books. An idea bloomed. She picked out a few, then sat cross-legged beside her. "What if," Mia whispered, tapping her chin, "we create a story no one's ever heard before, one that's just for you and me?" Zuri's face sparkled with interest. "Let's see," Mia began, her voice settling into a playful rhythm. "Once upon a time, in a kingdom tucked between the clouds and the stars, there lived a brave little princess named Lila." Zuri whispered. Mia smiled. "Yes, Princess Lila. And she had the most beautiful mommy in the whole world." Zuri's breath caught. Her lips trembled. Her name was Clarice. Mia paused. She didn't know. She couldn't have. Clarice was Zuri's mom's name. But Zuri nodded, slowly at first, then again more firmly. Mia continued, following the magic. She had long hair like sunlight and a laugh that made stars dance. Every night, she'd sing to Princess Lila, but one day, her mommy had to go on a long journey. Still, she left something behind. Zuri leaned in. "What was it?" Her laugh, Mia whispered. She hid it in the wind, and every time the breeze tickled Princess Lila's cheeks, she knew her mommy was saying hello for a beat. The room was quiet. Then Zuri giggled. It was sudden, bubbling, and pure. Her bunny dropped from her grip as she threw her head back and laughed, really laughed. Down the hall, Malik stood silently, watching from just out of sight. The sound hit him like thunder. He hadn't heard that laugh in so long, not a polite chuckle, not a reaction, a real, full-belly laugh that seemed to bring the house back to life. He leaned against the wall, his hand tightening over his chest. He could barely breathe. Who was this woman? Mia stayed in that playroom with Zuri for hours. They built castles from couch cushions, drew galaxies with crayons, danced to old-school soul music Mia found on the family's speaker. She gave the bunny silly voices. She braided Zuri's curls with gentle hands, and when Zuri whispered about stars, her mommy, and her dreams, Mia didn't talk over her. She listened, really listened. By late afternoon, the house had changed. Zuri ran through the halls with her bunny flying behind her. Her feet were light. Her eyes sparkled. And Mia, even though exhausted, felt fuller than she had in weeks. When the sky blushed orange, she helped Zuri into pajamas, read a final story, and stayed by her side until her lashes fluttered closed. That's when Malik appeared in the doorway quiet. As always, Mia rose, brushing her hair behind her ear. Well, she whispered, I guess I'll be heading out. I hope she sleeps well. But before she could move, Zuri sat up, arms stretched wide. Can you come again tomorrow? Mia froze. Her throat tightened as she turned toward Malik. He met her gaze, and for the first time, the cold wall from that morning was gone. His eyes were soft, tired, but open, vulnerable. He nodded, a silent permission, or maybe a silent plea. Malik stood in the kitchen doorway the next morning, arms crossed, watching quietly as Mia helped Zuri press cookie cutters into rolled-out dough. The child's laughter rang through the air, like sunlight slipping through the cracks of a long-closed window. He hadn't heard that sound in his house in years. Not like this. Not since before. When Mia first arrived, it was only meant to be a single day, but when his assistant informed him that Maya's sister was still too ill to return, Malik made a decision he hadn't planned to make. That night, after tucking Zuri into bed, he found Mia sitting alone in the reading nook, watching. The little girl breathed peacefully. A storybook rested on her lap. Her eyes looked tired, but calm, like someone who belonged without realizing it. He stepped forward. I'd like to hire you, Malik said plainly. Mia blinked. Just until my sister recovers. He nodded. A few days. Temporary, of course. You'll be compensated fairly. Mia hesitated. I'm not really a nanny. I'm actually a kindergarten teacher, just on leave right now. Her voice dropped a little. My mom passed recently. Malik's face softened. I'm sorry for your loss. She gave a small, grateful smile. Thank you. No pressure, he said, but Zuri really likes you. That wasn't just polite, he meant it. Zuri had clung to Mia in a way she hadn't clung to anyone in years, and so Mia stayed. What was meant to be one day became 3, then 5. Then she stopped counting. Each morning, the house felt a little warmer. Mia cooked pancakes shaped like stars, taught Zuri how to write thank you notes, and folded paper boats for bath time. In the evenings, she hummed softly while folding laundry or colored beside Zuri on the living room floor. The house no longer felt like a museum of grief. It felt like it was breathing again. Malik found himself looking forward to the mornings, if only to see the way Mia smiled when she handed him coffee, or how gently she corrected Zuri's spelling without ever making her feel small. She didn't fill space, she transformed it. She wasn't just helping, she was changing everything. One night, after Zuri had fallen asleep, Mia lingered in the hallway, tucking a throw blanket over the child's legs. Malik approached, quiet as ever, something folded in his hand. Mia, he said softly. She turned. She's finally asleep. He nodded, then held out the folded paper. I wanted to ask you something. Mia took it, her fingers brushing the edges. Her breath caught the second she saw it. This. She looked at him, wide-eyed. Was this yours? He asked. She nodded slowly. I wrote this 2 years ago. I was just an intern at the preschool. Zuri was crying during nap time. I didn't know her name, but I couldn't walk past her like that. So I wrote this letter and slipped it into her backpack. Her fingers traced her own handwriting, wobbly and warm. You're brave. And even when someone we love is gone, they stay in our hearts forever. Every time we smile, every time we remember, love doesn't disappear, it just changes shape. Malik's voice was low. It kept us. She looked up, eyes full. I didn't even sign my name. Just wrote Miss Sunshine. That's what the kids used to call me. I know. He said. I saw a video. Another parent posted it. You were helping Zuri talk about her mom. I've watched it more times than I can admit. Maya's eyes shimmered with tears. I never knew. You changed her, Malik said, voice tightening. You changed me. Mia folded the letter and held it to her chest. It was just a note. No, he said. It was the beginning of everything. She smiled through her tears, the kind of tears that only come when someone finally sees you, truly sees you, for something you never thought would matter. The days began to blend together in the most peaceful way. Morning started with the soft shuffle of Zuri's feet running into the kitchen. Mia would already be humming at the stove, flipping pancakes into star shapes. Hair wrapped in a silk scarf, gold bangles clinking as she moved. Afternoons were filled with sidewalk chalk, puzzles, and tea parties in the sunroom. Evenings were slower, quieter, with warm baths and lullabies. Its stories curled into the corner of the couch, Zuri tucked under Maya's arm. Malik watched it all from the edges. He had never been the type to rush into emotions, but there was no denying what he saw. Mia didn't just show up. She slipped into their lives as if she'd always belonged. She remembered how he liked his coffee no cream, to sugars. She instinctively set it beside him without a word. She smiled without forcing it, and when Zuri laughed, really laughed, Mia looked at her like that joy was the whole world. There were moments, quiet ones, when Malik caught her eyes across the room. Something always passed between them. Not yet love, but not nothing either. One Thursday evening, the wind howled outside the windows, and the cold crept in through the old glass. Zuri was quiet to quiet. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes glazed. Mia noticed first. She pressed a gentle hand to Zuri's forehead. "She's burning up," she whispered without hesitation. She scooped the girl into her arms. Malik appeared in the hallway, concern tightening his features. "I'll stay with her tonight," Mia said before he could speak. "You don't have to. I want to." She laid Zuri in her bed, brought in cool cloths, and whispered stories. Between naps, she stayed awake the entire night, listening, watching, worrying, never once leaving her side. At 3:15 a.m., exhausted but steady, Mia leaned back against the headboard. Zuri was curled against her, small breath finally steady. That's when she noticed it. A small tray by the door, a mug of ginger tea, and beside it, a folded note. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. "You stayed for her. Thank you." No name, no signature, none needed. She pressed the paper to her chest, her throat aching with something that had no name. By sunrise, Zuri's fever broke. Her voice returned hoarse, but cheerful. Mia helped her brush her hair, tied it with a soft blue ribbon, and made her warm oatmeal with honey. Malik joined them at the table, quiet, tired, but grateful. That afternoon, Mia stepped into the backyard for a few minutes alone. The trees swayed gently, bare branches scratching the sky. Something inside her felt unsteady. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it from her pocket and stared at the message. "Miss Brooks, we'd love to have you back. A full-time kindergarten position has just opened at Lakeside Elementary. Please let us know by Monday." Her heart skipped. It was the job she'd worked toward for years. Stability, purpose, a fresh start. So why did her chest tighten instead of lift? Why did she picture Zuri's sleepy smile, Malik's quiet strength, the house, the laughter, the pancakes and coloring books? It wasn't just a job anymore. It felt like family, like home. But was it real, or was she just filling in space, meant for someone else? She walked back inside, passing a framed note hanging quietly in the hall. Her note, the one she had written 2 years ago for a little girl she didn't know. Now, she couldn't imagine her days without that little girl's arms around her neck. And with every step, the weight of the decision grew heavier. Stay and risk wanting more than she was allowed to hope for, or leave before it hurt too much to say goodbye. Mia stood by the kitchen window, her fingers lightly tracing the rim of a mug she hadn't taken a sip from. Outside, fresh snow had begun to fall, blanketing the front lawn in clean, untouched white. The house behind her was quiet again. To quiet. She had made her decision. Later that morning, she sat across from Malik at the long marble kitchen table. Zuri was still asleep upstairs, her fever completely gone, her dreams now soft and untroubled. "I got the offer," Mia said gently. Her eyes lowered to her hands. Malik's shoulders stiffened. "The teaching job." She nodded. "I'm going to take it." A long pause stretched across the room. Malik exhaled through his nose, his jaw tightening. "Is it what you want?" Mia swallowed. "Teaching is what I was trained for. It's what I thought I was meant to do." She couldn't bring herself to look him in the eyes. "I see," he said, his voice calm to calm. But Mia heard the weight under the words, quiet and dark like the shadows between them. "I was never meant to stay," she added, her voice trembling. "I was only filling in for my sister." Malik leaned back slowly, arms folded across his chest. His eyes searched her face. "You were never temporary, Mia." Her breath caught, but he softened his tone. "I know I don't get to decide that." Mia stood. Her voice quivered as she forced herself to keep moving. "You and Zuri, these days have meant more to me than I can explain." He stood to, now just a few feet from her. "Then why leave?" She blinked, eyes brimming. "Because I'm not her. I'm not Zuri's mother. I'm not your wife. I was just someone passing through. You were never just anything," he said. But the words came too late. Mia stepped back, grabbed her bag, and turned away before her resolve could crack completely. That evening, she packed in silence. Her sister had recovered and arrived to take over the job. They hugged quietly, No questions asked. Mia smiled through it, kissed Zuri's forehead one last time, and whispered, "I'll write you, sweetheart. I promise." Outside, the snow fell heavier now, muffling the sound of her boots on the stone walkway. At the gate, a cab waited. She climbed into the back seat, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The driver reached for the ignition. "Wait," a voice called out just as the car rumbled to life. Mia turned. It was the new Nanny, her sister, running up, holding a small brown box in her gloved hands. "Mr. Coleman wanted you to have this," she said, breathless, and passed it through the open window. The cab pulled away as Mia opened the box in her lap. Inside was a single wooden frame, delicate and simple. Behind the glass was the letter, the very same one she'd written years ago in a preschool classroom. Her words, written in child-friendly script, stared back at her. "Even when someone we love is gone, they live here, every time we smile." And beneath her words, in neat black ink, a new line had been added: "To the woman who changed lives with just a few kind words." Her throat closed. Tears slipped silently down her cheeks. The snow outside blurred the world like a memory she couldn't hold still. She had left to protect herself. But what if leaving was the thing that would break her? Mia walked the quiet halls of her new classroom, her heels clicking softly on the linoleum. Children buzzed with energy all around her, crayons rolling off desks, tiny hands waving in the air, laughter echoing off walls covered in colorful posters. She smiled the way she always had, warm, patient, strong, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. She poured herself into her work, led story time like a pro, wiped away tears with gentle hands, encouraged little voices to speak boldly. She was good at what she did. She always had been. But in the quiet moments when the room emptied for recess, or when she sat alone at her desk during lunch, she felt it, the absence. It was in the empty space where Zuri's giggle used to echo, in the silence where Malik's tired but thankful good morning used to be, in the cool, impersonal cup of coffee that she now poured without anyone to share it with. It wasn't teaching she missed. It was them. It was the way Zuri would curl into her side during bedtime stories, the way Malik would glance at her when he thought she wasn't looking, like he was still trying to understand how someone could walk into their lives and fix the air without even trying. Then, one Thursday afternoon, just as sunlight streamed through the high windows of her classroom, the front office secretary appeared in her doorway. "This came for you," she said with a small smile, handing over a package wrapped in brown paper, scribbled in thick crayon. Mia blinked. Her name was written across the front in shaky, uneven letters. She sat at her desk and carefully peeled it open. Inside was a handmade book, construction paper pages, bound with ribbon, stickers of stars, bears, and rainbows, glitter smudged along the corners. Her heart clenched. On the first page was a crayon drawing Zuri holding Maya's hand. Above their heads, it said, "Me and Miss Sunshine." Mia gasped. She turned the pages, one by one. Zuri brushing flour from Maya's nose during cookie time. Zuri asleep in Maya's lap with a book between them. Zuri laughing in the snow while Malik stood nearby, smiling. Always smiling at him. The final page was the simplest of all, a red crayon heart, and a message in Zuri's unmistakable handwriting. "Come home, Miss Sunshine." Mia pressed her hand to her chest, breath shallow. The lump in her throat refused to go down. She reached for her phone and dialed. One ring. No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. Her chair scraped against the floor as she stood. "I have to go," she told the secretary as she grabbed her coat. "Is everything okay?" the woman called after her. Mia didn't respond. Outside, the wind had picked up. It smelled like snow again, cold and sweet and sharp. She flagged down a taxi, slid inside, and gave the address she hadn't said out loud in weeks. The same address she had once typed into a rideshare app, not knowing it would change her life. The ride was long. She clutched the handmade book tightly in her lap as if it might vanish if she let go. Her heart pounded with hope, fear, and a need she hadn't dared name until now. When the cab finally pulled up to the tall iron gates, the sky had already turned lavender. Lights glowed warmly in the windows beyond. She stepped out, breath fogging the air, walked the stone path she knew too well, reached the door. Her hand rose to knock. She hesitated. Then the door opened on its own. A rush of warm poured out, cinnamon and old wood and the smell of something baking. And there he was, Malik, framed by the golden light of the entryway, sleeves rolled to his elbows, his expression unreadable. but his eyes, those deep gray-brown eyes, softened the moment they saw her. Mia. He breathed like a prayer that had been waiting. She couldn't speak, couldn't move. Then, Miss Sunshine, Zuri's voice rang out behind him as she dashed forward, throwing herself into Maya's arms. Before anyone could stop her, Mia knelt, wrapping the little girl in a kind of hug that felt like home. I missed you so much, she whispered into Zuri's shoulder. When she looked up again, Malik was still watching, still stunned, still hoping. Malik stepped forward, slowly, like he was afraid one wrong move would break the moment. Zuri was still clinging to Mia, tiny fingers wrapped tight in her sweater. Mia looked up, her voice shaking. I got your book. Malik nodded. We made it together. Every night before bed, she'd ask if you were coming back. Mia blinked hard, trying to steady her heart. And you wondered? I did, he said, voice quiet. Every day. Zuri stayed close, holding her hand tightly. Malik reached into the pocket of his sweater and pulled out something small, a piece of folded paper. No box, no ring, just a letter creased at the edges, worn from being read more than once. I was going to give this to you if you ever came back, he said, but I wrote it whether you did or not. Mia took it carefully, her hands trembling. She opened it. Dear Miss Sunshine, you were never just a nanny, or a guest, or a temporary answer. From the moment I saw the way you looked at my daughter, like she was the most important story you had ever read, I knew. You gave Zuri her smile back. You gave me something I thought I'd lost forever, a reason to believe in beginnings. So now, I'm writing my own. This is not a proposal. There's no ring. Not yet. Just a question. Would you stay? Not just for her, but for me too. Yours, if you'll have us. Malik. Mia held the letter to her chest, tears slipping freely down her cheeks. It felt like her ribs had cracked open to make space for something too big to name. She looked up, through a blur of tears. Yes. Malik took a breath like he hadn't been breathing for weeks. Are you sure? She nodded, smiling through everything that threatened to undo her. I've never been more sure of anything. He dropped to one knee. Not with any diamond, not with flash, but with both hands open, offering nothing but honesty, vulnerability, and hope. Zuri, still holding Maya's arm, looked between them and giggled. Does this mean you're staying forever? Mia pulled them both close, one arm wrapped around Zuri, the other around Malik. Her voice came soft but certain. If you'll have me. In the golden hush of the living room, under the soft crackle of the fireplace and the faint scent of cinnamon still in the air, the three of them stood together. No longer strangers. No longer broken, but whole. A family born not from blood, but from kindness, courage, and the words tucked in a letter that was never meant to last this long, but somehow lasted just long enough. The sky had surrendered to nightfall by the time you stepped out of the cab. The familiar iron gates of the Coleman estate stood before her, softened by the glow of amber lights flickering in the windows beyond. The mansion, once cold and cavernous, now glowed like something living, something warm. She walked slowly up the snow-dusted path, her breath curling in the air. One hand clutched Zuri's handmade book tight against her chest like it was the compass that had led her home. The wind whispered through bare trees, carrying with it every silent question she had asked herself on that long ride over. Would he still want her here? Was this truly home? Before she could knock, the door opened. Warmth poured out, instantly, golden light, the scent of cinnamon, and something deeper, something like peace. Inside, Malik sat on the living room floor, a book in his lap, Zuri nestled against his chest. He had been reading aloud, his voice low and steady, until he looked up and saw her. And just like that, the words on the page faded. He stood quickly, book falling beside him, as if part of him didn't believe she was really there. Mia, he said, like her name was sacred. She hesitated in the doorway, eyes wide, heart pounding. Zuri looked up and squealed with joy. Miss Sunshine. Before Mia could even kneel, the little girl raced across the room and launched herself into her arms. Mia caught her midair, hugging her tightly, her tears soaking into the child's curls. I knew you'd come back, Zuri whispered, voice muffled in Maya's shoulder. Mia kissed her cheek. I miss you so much, sweetheart. When she finally looked up, Malik was there, still watching, still waiting. His steps were slow, deliberate, his face unreadable, but his eyes, those deep, dark eyes, were soft. I thought maybe the letter was too much, he murmured, or not enough. Mia shook her head. It was everything? He reached into his pocket, pulled out another letter. This one new, neat, folded with care. This one wasn't from Zuri. It's from me. He handed it to her, and this time, she didn't hesitate. She opened it slowly. Dear Miss Sunshine, you were never just a visitor, not a gap-filler, not a substitute. From the moment you made Zuri laugh again, from the way you looked at her pain and didn't run, from the way you poured warmth into every quiet corner of this home, you became part of it. You became part of us. This is not a perfect beginning. It's messy, unexpected, but it's real. Would you stay? Not as a helper, not as a guest, but as the woman who changed everything. Stay for her, stay for me. Stay because this house doesn't feel right without your light. Yours, Malik. Maya's hands trembled. Her tears spilled freely now. She looked up. Yes, she whispered. He took a step closer, holding her gaze. Are you sure? She nodded again, smiling through the tears. I was never more sure of anything. And just like that, Zuri pulled them both close, arms looping around their waists. Does this mean you're gonna be here every day? Mia laughed, joy mixing with relief, and kissed her forehead. Every single one. Malik reached out, his hand finding Maya's and folding it into his. No more distance, no more doubt. They stood there in the soft glow of the home they hadn't realized they built together. No labels, no perfect titles. Just love. Found at bedtime stories, burnt pancakes, glitter on construction paper, and a letter that was never supposed to matter but somehow became the thread that tied three lives into one. Winter wrapped the world outside in soft white silence as the Coleman's home pulsed with warmth. The once lonely mansion now breathed with life, like it had finally remembered what love sounded like. Days flowed gently into one another. Mornings began with Zuri's footsteps racing down the hallway and Maya's rich laughter echoing from the kitchen as she flipped pancakes into heart shapes. Malik joined them, always greeted with a hot mug of coffee, no cream. 2 sugars already waiting on the table, just the way he liked. Afternoons became a collage of picture books, dress-up dances, and cookie experiments that ended with flour in Maya's hair and Zuri giggling until she couldn't breathe. Evenings were slower, filled with soul music humming through the speakers and warm lights glowing against the windows. As night settled in, Mia didn't just fill space in the house, she filled hearts, and Malik, he'd become someone softer, present, not just watching life pass him by, but living in it again. One quiet afternoon, Mia stood in the front hallway, eyes lingering on something framed near the entry table. The note, her original letter, the one she had written years ago to a grieving little girl she hadn't known would ever matter so much. Even when someone we love is gone, they live here. Every time we smile. She read it again, silently, then looked around the house that now felt like more than just shelter. It felt like truth. Later that evening, after Zuri had been tucked into bed with her bunny, Mia sat on the couch beside Malik. A fire crackled nearby. Her legs were tucked under her, and his hand rested on her knee. No words were needed. The quiet between them was no longer empty. It was full of what had been, and what could still come. Zuri's handmade book now sat proudly on the coffee table, beside a new framed photo of the 3 of them in the snow. Cheeks flushed, arms tangled, joy frozen forever in a perfect second dot as the firelight danced across the walls. Malik turned to her. I still don't have a ring, he said softly. Mia smiled. Good. He raised an eyebrow. Good. She leaned into him. Because this isn't about grand gestures. You already gave me everything I needed. He tilted his head. And what's that? She looked at him, eyes warm. Home. They sat in the golden quiet, the rhythm of their breathing matching the ticking of the old clock in the corner. No titles, no expectations, just a woman, a man, and a little girl who had once been broken and had somehow found each other. And above it all, the letter that had started it all still hung. Ink faded slightly from time, but words unchanged. Even when someone we love is gone, they live here, every time we smile. And now, so did Mia. Not as a visitor, not as a nanny, but as part of something real, a family forever.